Watch out for the hole.
What hole? Watch out for the portable hole. Rock out to the portable hole. Watch out for the portable hole. Rock out to the portable hole.
Welcome to the Portable Hole Podcast. I'm Ryan George, and I'm here with my good friend Justin Guild. Cynic is out for the week, but hopefully he'll be back next week as we talk about Shogun, which we were supposed to talk about today, but we'll get to that. Justin, how you doing?
Not bad. Not bad. I'm in Nashville just taking care of various assortments of different businesses.
Yeah. Cool. Good. I got back from Uganda, so that's why we had a bit of a hiatus for a couple weeks. But
yeah, that's crazy.
The trip of a lifetime. It was
Wow.
crazy. You got we did one of my a bucket list thing, which was gorilla trekking. So we trekked into the forest, found a family of gorillas, and then you just follow them around, and it was just an amazing experience.
So a question: were you how close were you to that hippo?
Okay, so that's a funny experience. So one of the cabins we stayed at, or the lodges we stayed at, it was a tent. It's like a tent, but it's a large tent and very nicely laid out, and they have modern plumbing and modern bathroom kind of attached to it. And the first night, so they at the lodge after dark, they have to escort you to your tents because there are hippos out that just kind of roam on the grounds. So the first night, we heard this loud noise that sounded like it was right outside of our tent, like just this crazy sound.
And when you say tent, like how secure is the tent?
It's secure. It's pretty secure, and it's also a little bit elevated.
Okay.
So and we're right on the river. So and the hippos they spend the day on the river, and then at night they come out to graze. So the next night, I was kind of like, I want to see these hippos. So we were out kind of late with some of the other people on our tour group. And I don't know, so maybe 11 o'clock that we headed back to the cabin or to the tent. And, one of the people that works there walked us down, and it's kind of pitch black, but then he flashes his light right in front of our tent. And again, a little elevated, but there's like 6 or 7 hippos just grazing right outside of our tent. So we were really close to them. What they were saying is that they're generally fine. And if they charge you, like the flashlights are so powerful that they would flash it in their face, and it kind of scares them off.
Did that really make you feel confident that a hippo, like how many tons do they weigh?
I'm a little it's weird when there are like animals involved. My like fear senses like become a little diminished or depressed, which probably is not what you should want. So I just wanted to see the hippos. Yeah.
No,
but like we were
awesome,
we had like when we did the gorilla trekking, we were literally right by like a silverback. I mean, I was like a couple feet away from a silverback. They're totally hanging out, just they don't care, no care in the world. We did chimpanzee trekking, same thing. We're just kind of like feet away from chimpanzees. It's pretty crazy. Now when you're doing it, you're with guides that have like weapons, if need be. And they've got a lot of experience. Obviously, it was interesting with the gorillas, because while we're doing it, the rangers that were with us were making weird like grunts and noises, and I'm like, what are those noises? It's like, oh, we're like communicating with the gorillas. We're basically telling them like, hey, everything's cool, we're fine. And so I'm like, oh, do you understand like what they're communicating? He's like, yeah, we understand a lot of their communication. So at one point, the silverback is on the ground, like we're following him, and he's on the floor, eating. And there was another gorilla like kind of up in a tree, and the gorilla makes some kind of like noise, and I'm like, hey, what's that one saying? Kind of jokingly. He's like, oh, well, he's telling the silverback that, and this is like the dominant male of the group. He's like, yeah, this one's telling him that the good food is up here, so the silverback is probably going to go up there. And sure enough, within a few seconds of that communication, silverback gets up, walks over to the tree, starts climbing that tree, and starts eating from that same spot. So yeah, it was pretty cool to see that. But we saw one of the coolest things we saw. There's a lot of great things that we saw on the trip, but so we saw a herd of elephants. There was two of the coolest things actually involved elephants. One was we saw about, not a lot, maybe it was like 7 or 8 elephants, and then there was a young one, like I don't know, young elephant basically. And we were doing a cruise. So the boat kind of gets very close to where they're grazing. And they're just kind of grazing, you know, not paying mind to us. One of the guys in our group was a little loud. So he starts kind of speaking loudly, and the elephants, they didn't warn us. Like, the elephants are very sensitive, you know, hearing.
Sure.
So the elephants got spooked by the noise. And so what happened is one of the elephants kind of charges towards us, not aggressively, but like enough to say, hey, back off, while the other ones all surrounded the little baby elephant. Like, they all just surrounded it, like, we're going to protect the little one.
That's
it was
really
crazy to
interesting.
see. You know, it's like both like, yeah, okay, not good, you don't want to see a bunch of scared elephants, but it was a really cool, like, experience, you know, to see, you know, the behaviors in the wild. And then the other part was, it wasn't really behaviors, it was just like at another point we'd gotten to a huge herd of elephants. I mean, it must have been like 30 or 40 elephants. And they were just like the noise. Like, there was some point where we were all sitting in silence, just listening to them as they're grazing, they're in the water. We saw an elephant swimming. Apparently elephants are great swimmers, like they're little babies and the older ones, and they're like bathing themselves and throwing mud on themselves. And it was just the sounds of all this massive herd of elephants all like doing their thing was something that was kind of like awe-inspiring. It was just really cool. But yeah, it was definitely like a bucket list thing. I want to go back. The gorilla trek. The only negative was it was so short. But yeah, we really had a good time. I'll give you one more thing that almost ruined my trip. Is I was grooming my dog, and this is like a couple hours before we're supposed to fly out, and she shook her head while I was like using the clippers on her head, electric clippers, and it cut her ear.
Oh.
So she had this huge cut on her ear, bleeding all over the place. So I have to take her to the vet. I get to the vet. The vet's like, yeah, we're closing soon, so nothing we could do, but we can't stop the bleeding. I recommend you take her to the emergency vet, and she has surgery to like cut this piece of her ear off, basically. And I'm like, I can't do this. I got a flight in a couple hours. Like, and so she's like, okay, we'll bandage her up. So they bandaged her up. Like they kind of basically put her ear against her head and wrapped up her face. I felt so bad for her. She looked so like sad. And then basically I had my stepson take her on that Monday back to the vet, and they were going to do surgery. It was going to cost a ton of money. And I guess they looked at it and said, okay, let's hold off. And we're still in the process of, as she's growling, we're still in the process of them holding off. I have to take her again on Monday, and the hope is that she doesn't need surgery, but she was saying, I guess it needs to see if, like, you know, if that piece of skin is kind of necrotic and rotting, they're going to have to cut it off. But if it's not, then, you know, we'll just keep her, and she's just going to have a permanent, like, split in her ear. So we'll see. So yeah, exciting journey all around. And unfortunate for my dog. I felt bad for her because she was on medication and ear and all that stuff. But anyway, enough about me. Anyway. Let's get to the news. It's funny. I always think there's no news stories, and a bunch of things
there's
pop
always
up.
Something.
So, all right. So the big story of today, which I'm interested to see what you think about this, is it was announced today that Jake Paul is fighting Tyson Fury in July.
No, not Tyson
Netflix.
Fury. Not Tyson.
I'm sorry,
Fury.
not Tyson Fury. Whoa. Sorry. Why am I saying Tyson Fury? Jake Paul is fighting Mike Tyson. Yeah, but Tyson Fury, I'd be interested, right? Like, but no. So Jake Paul's fighting Mike Tyson on Netflix in July. Your thoughts?
You know, I knew it was going to happen. It was only a matter of time. Like, Mike Tyson is still still captures people's imagination. Yeah. Like objectively, when you look at him, he was a great boxer, but he wasn't the best. Like objectively, like you can say that, right? There have been a few boxers that are better than him overall, but just something, but. Even probably more so than Muhammad Ali, no one has sort of captured the imagination of the public like he has. Even though he was only champion for 4 years, it's if you know, on social media, people still ask questions about it, still writing about him, like everything. You know, it's just he is a legend, and there's just some mystique surrounding him. So it would only make sense that he would fight Jake Paul. You know, and it's a cash grab, and they're going to make a lot of money, and it's just it is what it is. It's like I get it. Like, look, Mike Tyson was at one point very, very wealthy, like hundreds of millions of dollars, and you know it's all gone now. Like he has.
I mean, we don't know people's we don't know their financial situations, but I feel like Mike Tyson's doing okay. He's got his
He's doing
podcast. He does his weed.
okay.
I mean, I know it's a cash grab. It makes, I don't know. It's just such a weird thing because like Tyson's nearly 60.
Yeah.
In some ways, I think, I mean, Jake Paul is nothing if not like a brilliant businessman, right? Like, what is he? What's his career been? Like, he's a guy who's like, I give him a lot of respect for learning the art of boxing and becoming a decent boxer and training like a pro fighter.
He's good,
right? But it's like every fight, it like nudges him forward. It's like every fight is like just interesting enough that like you can't help but want to see the spectacle.
Yeah,
but he's not doing, but it's clear that he's not really doing it to say I'm the best boxer or whatever.
No,
I'm
not.
a legit contender. It's like, first it's like washed up MMA fighters. Then it's like, okay, but not, MMA fighters. And then it's like, boxers that are very low, low level. And then it's like fighting names. It's just like, he's, this is such a weird fight because like he's significantly younger and bigger than Tyson. He's been training like a pro fighter for the last 10 years. Tyson is not. Yes, Tyson's obviously, got power and has the skill that doesn't completely leave you, but he's almost 60. Now the only
he's still in good shape
hope,
though. If you've seen him,
only hope is he looked good against Roy Jones Jr. a couple years ago, and maybe but like every year when you're past you're north of 50, every year it's kind of exponentially more difficult than the next physically for you. So like I don't know, but that's the thing. It's like he did look okay a couple years ago. He's probably still in decent shape. So it does make you think, okay, maybe he'll give him an interesting fight. Like, who knows? It's like, it's just so.
One thing he still has is knockout power, though.
I guess, but
he definitely does. Like, that's something that's not going to go away. Like, whether he has the setups to land it is a different story.
I think it's more an endurance thing. It's like at the end of the day, like,
yes,
he's not going to have a gas tank to go with somebody that much younger, right? Like, it's just going to be it ends early or it doesn't, or it's going to look bad for him. And I think that's the hard thing. It's
it's just like
for Jake Paul, it's
Jake
like
Paul knocks out Mike Tyson.
I know, and that's like such a like it's a lose lose. I mean, except that he's going to make millions of dollars doing it, and for
Tyson
Netflix,
and
I think Netflix with them getting WWE Raw and like they're trying to push into like the live sports, realm. And I guess this is huge for them. So they must have just backed up a boatload of money to them. And it's like, look, everybody's going to watch. Like, look, I wouldn't pay for this fight, but I have Netflix, so I'll certainly watch it. Because it's a spectacle. And it's like, there's that off chance that we get, Tyson, you're obviously not going to get a vintage Tyson, but at the end of the day, he's still Mike Tyson. And maybe we get like a performance that, is good. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, if Jake Paul, I was talking to a friend today, like, what, why does he fight Francis Ngannou? Like, take that fight, He
would never do that.
Right?
He would get,
yeah, exactly. Like that, that would be the fight that would impress me. He would, he obviously he won't take that. Because then you look at like what Francis Ngannou's doing, right? Like he's just out, I'm going to fight the best guys. And fine, if Jake Paul doesn't want to fight him, fight the best middleweights, fight somebody good,
but he doesn't want to. There's no reason for him to fight anyone good. As you said, he's not trying to be the best boxer.
No,
he's trying to be the best businessman. He's trying to promote his brand. He's going to do a few more fights, and then he's smart. Like he'll move somewhere else with it. He'll be the promoter, and he'll get some other Jake Paul to and start doing these crazy celebrity, freak show fights. Like, he's smart, right? And why fight someone that you can't beat? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
like,
I guess
do these,
fair.
Make good money doing it. Makes sense. Like, I don't fault anyone. I don't think like, oh, this is pathetic. It's like, it is what it is. We knew it was coming. And it's good for Tyson. He's going to make a lot of money. Good for him.
I don't know. I mean, it's like if he gets knocked out, or if it's just like a weird thing to do to your legacy. But we'll see.
I don't think Tyson's concerned about his legacy.
I guess not.
He's a legend. No one is. It's just he's not concerned. I think he would rather the whatever $1 million he's going to make off of this than his legacy. That's not going to really be tarnished.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next news story then. Did you hear about the whole AI Willy Wonka thing? That
A
debacle. Have you
little
heard about
bit,
it?
not
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah. So basically, this is how not to use AI. By the way, so there was like a Willy Wonka themed event. It was in Scotland, and like we there've been plenty of these like immersive experiences. Like we did
Sure.
one recently with like it was Van Gogh, and a lot of these are very well thought out, very well done, and beautiful. Really engaging and immersive. So they kind of build it as an immersive experience. They described it as a journey filled with wondrous creations and enchanting surprises. But and they used AI for a lot of it. So basically, they used AI to create the flyers, which, like at the end of the day, it wasn't like the flyers that I saw in the promotional materials I saw. It looked clearly like it was like animated, and looked pretty obviously like it was AI. So to me, it wasn't like it wasn't as if they had made some realistic a flyer that that looked like what the inside of this place would look like. It clearly designed right. So for me that part wasn't like misleading, because when I was reading about it, it was like as if that was misleading. Now I might be missing something. Maybe there were flyers that had that, but it was clearly like a design flyer. But instead of getting like this wondrous world, they got a sparsely decorated warehouse with actors that looked like sad. I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures, but they looked really bad and really, it just like they did not want to be there. There were characters that weren't from the movie. There was no chocolate. And there apparently like the actor playing Willy Wonka was given a script, an AI generated script that was just filled with what they called gibberish. It was so bad that apparently people called the police. Guests were terrified. Kids were scared. And it just was this whole debacle where eventually the company that managed it, the House of Illuminati, accepted responsibility and said that they'll be refunding everybody, and apologize. Now, who knows how true that is, but it just sounds like, a complete mess and a kind of cautionary tale of how not to use AI.
Well, yes and no, right? The what it came down to is it was not the use of AI, but that whoever the producer of the show didn't. There's no quality control. Didn't
Yeah.
look at it, and like no one said, "Wait a minute, this is terrible." Like they didn't have one adult in the room being like, "This is not professional. We can't put
Yeah.
that on." Like like who thought? It reminds me of like it's funny because they did it AI, but back in sort of way back when they did these immersive, the same thing, immersive experiences, and they were really really cheap.
Yeah.
And the only reason why you went to it was like, oh, it had the He-Man on it. That's why. Let's go see He-Man or whatever it was. And it was just some garbage, but because it had the name of the thing, like the kids went and the parents paid the admission and they were like, wow, like this is really crappy. Two people dressed up in some cheap costumes or something like that. We've seen this before, right? But see, with this, it's different because now you can't get away with it. Like then people just show up, they're like, oh, this is terrible. Let's go home. Like, oh, you can't get your money back. Oh, like, and then whatever huckster was doing it would just, disappear. And it was, and we see that stuff happen all the time. But now when you advertise it and then you do this big AI thing with it and right. And who's, and now of course with social media and the internet and everything, now you have to have an adult in the room, like saying, wait, this is terrible. We can't charge because this will backlash. We can't just get away with doing this. So where is the adult in the room?
Yeah.
Where was
That's
someone
fair.
to say, we can't let this happen? Like, how did no one say, wait, this is terrible? Like, I'm just wondering.
I mean, it seems like, from what I've read, it seems like a cash grab, and that the person kind of responsible has done similar things in the past and has used AI, for kind of his own nefarious purposes. So it seems like just a pattern. And this is just one of the times where they really got called out and, a lot of bad publicity. But then, it is its own memeable moment. And now, millions more people have heard of the House of Illuminati, for better or worse. So, who knows? It's a weird situation and funny. And it's, again, become like its own meme.
I just don't even see
part
that
of
it has
the news
anything to do
cycle.
with AI, except that they
Yeah, no,
used it in
it
part of
doesn't
their
really. I think
advertising. It's
I think it's more that you're right. Like I think AI has become such a big deal. Obviously, we did a podcast about it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's become so kind of ubiquitous in our society now that any story that even is kind of tangentially kind of related to AI is they'll blow up that part. So yeah, I think that's the thing for me too, right? Is like when I read stories about it, it kept saying they used AI generated images to promote it. So again, like I said, I was thinking because you could using Midjourney, you can come up with very kind of photorealistic
yeah,
images. And so to me that was what was would really be fraud and misleading is if you came up
yeah.
with these photorealistic images that represent like what the thing is supposed to look like, and then people show up and it's a sparsely decorated warehouse. That's bad. I mean, it's still bad the way it is, but to me, it's like the flyers were, yes, they were AI generated, but it was just, again, it was like if I went and wrote, hey, create me a cartoony AI generated, flyer for Willy Wonka, like that's what you're gonna get. And so like to me, the flyer wasn't representing
What they were actually
an
doing. Yeah,
expectation of what you were getting outside of it being kind of colorful and Willy Wonka being on it. So,
yeah.
but and then the other part, I guess, is like the script being AI generated, I guess, again, is another thing. So I think it was more that like people were quick to tack on the AI part, but the reality is everyone's using AI like for imagery now. It's like I see Subway ads that are very clearly AI generated. We're seeing ads all over the place, so it's like everybody's using it. So to tack it on just because they did something nefarious, yeah, it's like I said, it's like the AI is just kind of part of it, but it's not the story. But it is become like the story because it was AI, So okay, so the next story is a New York centric story. So have you found the subways to be particularly or more dangerous or scary, in recent months?
I haven't. No, I haven't
Yeah,
really. Look,
I mean,
I think that there are. Look, there's always been a lot of homeless people
yeah,
and interesting characters on the subway, as long as I can remember.
yeah. There's more recently. I mean, I
There's
think the
more
thing is
ever
like there's
since
definitely
COVID.
more homeless people. I think you see
Ever
more
since COVID,
people
and they
like
displaced all the
using
shelters.
using drugs, and it's not, but like it's like we've talked about before, like people kind of talk about New York being like this crime ridden hellhole, and it's like, yeah, no, it's not. It's New York. It's still one of
Yeah,
the safest big cities. But there has been an uptick in crime in the subways, especially this year, and so
yeah.
the governor's announced that they're deploying apparently National Guardsmen and state troopers in the subways to help combat like this crime upswing. So it's interesting because like I don't know how much of it is politics, like how much of it is like, hey,
That's the
people keep saying
first
there's
thing that popped
people
into
keep saying crime is crime, so let's just do something extreme. I don't know that we need that, but again, like, yeah, yes, there has been an uptick in crime. Yes, there was a shooting recently, but like, in a big city, you're going to have a certain amount. So I don't know how much of it is like, is it an anomaly? Is it really an upswing? But yeah, just to me, it always seems like it's politics because, like, yeah,
It sounds it.
like it's not. At least from my experience, I have not seen it that bad. But again, like it's hard for me to say that to somebody who has
Well,
been
look,
a victim of
there's a
crime.
lot of interesting. Like a shooting would be different than the issue because that
Yeah,
requires like people that are active criminals, right?
yeah,
It seems that a lot of the issues on the subway were from people that are not sort of calculating. I mean, they are, but they're also either mentally ill.
mentally unwell. Yeah,
They're not like, it's not like gang members. It's a different sort of thing. Yeah, people might be calculating. They might be bad people that, that are also homeless or something like that, or been displaced. That's different from like gang members having a shootout. They're
yeah,
two different things. Not that both are bad for sure, but this is it sounds political. It reeks of being political.
yeah,
First off, there's the whole thing in New York where there was criminals being let out on bail or no bail or things like that, or perpetrators being let out. So there's a big sort of side to that. What's going on. The governor doesn't, I think, appointed the DA, right?
Mm.
Who was doing
well, I'm
that?
not sure. No, you think you get elected? The DAs get
Oh,
elected
no,
here, I
not
think. Yeah.
no. So the governor was not appointed, but I know they were working. They were the DA is to be elected, but they were working together. I remember there was, they were definitely allies of sorts. And I know Governor Hochul went under a lot of scrutiny for what was going on there.
Yeah.
So, and there was
But-
it's a whole political. So
yeah, but I think I feel like with the bail stuff, I think a lot of that gets kind of twisted and turned to fit whatever
absolutely.
narrative it needs to fit. Because I think it's not like we were just like letting letting hardened criminal, like letting violent criminals out, and they like just without, I think it was a situation of like it gets twisted however it needs to be twisted, but then like
Sure.
a lot of like our politicians have very little backbone, don't fight back against it. They just kind of
course.
freak out and like overreact to things. So yeah, I wonder how much of like this subway thing is like an overreaction. But if you're not from New York is a great place, safe. It's a big city, so you're gonna have issues, but like still one of the safest big cities in the world, and it is not a crime-ridden hellhole that and the subways aren't either. But
just sounds like a political thing. So we're being strong on crime now. Elections are coming up.
Exactly, elections coming up, so we're strong on
Elections
crime, and then that becomes the issue, and as
question is,
usual, like the narrative gets taken over by.
There's still a lot of police. Like you could, just
there
up the
are
police
lots. I see them
presence.
all the time on the subways. So I don't know. Well, yeah, but we'll guess we will see how this goes. If it's a recipe for disaster or if things are okay.
I think it'll be okay.
So before we get to our main thing, we were supposed to talk about Shogun. I have not watched it yet, but I intend on it. So I'm hoping that next week we can do episodes 1 and 2. But are you liking it so far?
Yes. I'm going to say,
Okay.
I'm not going to speak too much about it. It's funny because I had a nice little review and I had some talking points, but I'll save that for next week.
Yeah, we'll do it next week. Yeah, that'll be good. I'll catch up. We'll do the 2 episodes and we'll talk about it because I'm excited. I started the first, what it was. So we got back from vacation. I took a million photos, and so we were editing, going through photos, and we started watching it. So I put my stuff down, but my wife Anna did not, and it was obviously a lot of subtitles, and so she was like, "Yeah, I can't." I can't. She typically will multitask, but you have to
pay close attention at least. And that actually, it's funny. That's actually one of the points I wanted to talk about. But we'll get there.
We'll talk.
But I will say this: it's very Game of Thrones influenced.
Yeah, it seems
the way
like
that it's shot, the way like the characters are conniving and scheming amongst themselves, the way it looks.
Yeah,
the way that the cinematography, like it's cut from that cloth. So clearly they were influenced by it in a good way.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So, actually, one other thing, without getting too political. So, your thoughts on we were going to get Trump versus Biden too? You excited about that?
I mean, look, the long story short, I don't like Biden. I don't like the corporate Democrats. I think they are in it for themselves. They funnel money. They don't care about people. They're in it to get wealthy. They're in it to have power. There's some newer, younger Democrats that I really like. But as far as those establishment Democrats, I think they're terrible. But with that being said, Trump is is the greatest traitor this country's ever had. So anything is better than Trump. And I don't like Biden. I don't like the corporate Democrats, but as always, we're forced to choose from the lesser of 2 evils. That's how I view it.
I'll echo your sentiment. I think it's pretty much the same. I think, we don't really have many politicians that I think are really public servants.
There are some good ones, like some of the younger
there are some
Democrats
younger
coming
ones
up,
that are good,
they haven't.
But I'm just saying,
yet.
in general, we don't, and it's tough because like how many times we go through the process of like we got to vote for this guy because they're the lesser of 2 evils, or they're better, and when do we have a chance to actually like really get behind somebody that we really want to get behind? I think that's frustrating, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on. I feel like we're always kind of giving people that are yeah, I mean, they're there for corporations, and really, it's like mostly, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, like most of the politicians are basically out to serve their donors, and we all get kind of screwed, and so
it's
it's like not an exciting election.
What did John Stewart say? The rematch none of us have been waiting for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the one thing I would say about Biden is and it's lowered expectations, right? But like, I think as somebody who's progressive, or I think I had very low expectations of Biden. I think he's done more than one would have expected.
Yeah.
From this side, but yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, exactly. Like the rematch, no one's really excited about, but I'm not looking forward to just the wall to wall attention it's going to get. And
I know it's
just trying to, like, I'll shut
it's
down
closer than ever
a little bit, even though it's like, yeah, like a lot is on the line in the next couple of over the next couple of months. But yeah, we'll leave our political discussion at that. So let's get to our main topic. So today we are talking about
while we've alienated like half.
Alienated like half of our So let's try to be careful with what we're saying. But you can like us for, well, hey, on my trip, for what it's worth, I won't get into too much detail in case any of the people that were on the trip find this podcast. But we were on a trip, right? And so there's 10 of us, right? There's a group of 4 that were all kind of New Yorkers or New York adjacent. Like none of them were. It was funny because they kept talking about that they were from New York, but like one was from New Jersey, one was from Westchester. One was from one was from Flushing, so I'll give her New York. But it was just kind of funny. She kept saying New Yorkers, but it's like, you live in Westchester and have a house in Long Island. You're like New York adjacent, but you're not really. You got to be from one of the 5 boroughs, and not barely including Staten Island to say you're New York, but yeah. But anyway, so there was a group of people from New York, and then there was another group. There were two couples. They didn't know each other, that were all kind of right of center, and from what I gathered, kind of Trump supporters. You would have thought, being the person, the political leanings I have, that I would have gravitated towards the New Yorkers, and I absolutely did not. Yeah. we were with the other group and had a wonderful time. We didn't talk much politics, and when we did, it was actually like an interesting discussion where, like, I can talk to people about, that disagree with me in a way that we can actually have a discussion and not be arguing with each other. But for the most part, we avoided it. Where the New Yorkers, who were all kind of liberals, we're bringing things up, and it's like, hey, look, we're on a trip, we're supposed to enjoy ourselves. Like, I don't want to think about this stuff because it's all depressing and sad. Like, so stop bringing it up. Like, I don't care that because she would start saying stuff about Trump and this. Like, look, nobody cares. Like, let's just enjoy this trip and not think about. I don't want to think about politics. Like, we're here to be with animals, not to do it. So actually, yeah, like I had a wonderful time with a group of people who are, pretty sure we're all, on that side, on the other side. So. So if you're listening, and we haven't turned you off yet, like, I'm okay. Anyway, so our main topic today, we're going to talk about our favorite 80s cartoon theme songs, right? Okay. All right. So this will be interesting. So we'll just go back and forth throughout our top 5, and kind of good that Cynic's not here, because this would have taken a long time if we had 3 of us doing this. But I guess the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the honorable mention. So, and I'm interested because this is your call for the honorable mention. So the honorable mention is Denver the Last Dinosaur, and we'll play that. I have zero recollection of this song or this show. Yeah. It's a catchy, it's an 80s theme song, definitely. But you gotta tell, like, what is this song? What is this show?
So and it's funny, just to briefly, because it just missed the cut. Yeah. We would have never watched the show because we were all into like violence and wanted to watch, those action shows. So this sort of show where a bunch of teenagers find a dinosaur, a cuddly dinosaur, and go on these adventures with them would have seemed very wimpy to us, and sure,
Yeah.
we did at the time. And I remember probably seeing 1 minute of the show and just saying, this is terrible, I'm not going to watch it. But I remember the song, and for years I remember the song because it's very catchy. So based on that, I said, this needs an honorable mention because the song is so catchy, and I think what's important is who wrote the song to it, and that's actually going to come up.
Okay,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Okay, all right. So for 5 and 4. We have some overlap. So instead of we're gonna do both of them together. So I'm gonna change my list a little bit, just so that we can we have the two songs that overlap. And I feel like anybody that's our age, right? Early to mid 40s, late 30s to mid 40s, let's say, who grew up watching these cartoons. In your top 5, one, if not both of these songs will be there. So we'll just go right in. We're gonna knock these two out. So at the number 5 spot for both of us is, and I almost feel like it should be higher, but
all right. So let me preface by saying that any of these songs could be
in any given time,
any list, in any order. They're all great, and we're trying to be as objective as possible. But once everything objective is, once you look at it and analyze everything objectively, and you see, all right, all of them are great, then it just comes down to which one you like best.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that this one is fantastic. This one could very easily be number 1.
Easily. Okay. So we're gonna start number 5. DuckTales.
Life is like a hurricane here in
It's funny, I haven't listened to this in
cars, lasers, aeroplanes.
a long time, and it's like it definitely hits the nostalgia.
Might solve a mystery or rewrite history.
Such a great chorus.
Woo. Every day they're out there making DuckTales.
I don't know.
Tales of
I feel like
do bad and good DuckTales.
I feel like this should be one. I think I'm changing my list. All right, so I'll cut this song now. But no, I don't know. It's such a good song.
Yeah, it really is. So, funny story about the song, and it's interesting that we both. So, is it staying at number 5 for you?
I mean, I'm going to keep it at number 5 just for the sake of this podcast. But and maybe that'll change as we go through the other songs. But that's such a good song.
So, I'm a funny story about this song.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking it up. Let me get the guy's name. All right. So the theme was composed by Mark Mueller, is his name. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I was in a supermarket a little while ago, and I heard this song called Crush. I think it's by Jennifer Page is her name. Ryan, we would have heard it at the gym when we were going there in the late 90s. It was a hit. It was a dance song. And I was listening. I was like, wow, this song is really, really good. It's a real pop dance song, really with a great hook. And it turns out that he wrote that song as well.
Okay.
So it's funny that I had been listening to that song as a throwback, being like, wow, this is really good. And then I was looking up DuckTales and it said, wow, this guy wrote that song. It's just really interesting how that works.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, no, I mean, it is a fantastic song, great chorus, and yeah, it could easily be in a number 1 slot. So
as a quick musical analysis, obviously there are a couple, there's a song that it's based off of, right? And that's the song, the Hall & Oates song, "You're Making My Dreams Come True," right?
Yeah.
Ooh, right? That part.
Yeah.
Ooh, 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 you're making my dreams. Boom, bam, boom, bam. It's clearly based off of that song, which makes sense. That's what Disney did. They often they often requested that their songs were based off of famous songs. For their themes. I forgot the guy who actually sang it. He not the same writer. He's sort of like kind of singing like a Stevie Wonder type style of singing, which is great as well. There's the bridge is nice. There's some great. The lyrics are really hit the story well. Nice chord changes as well. Goes to that bridge, so it's a little R&B, a little jazzy too. So just a good song. Even if it wasn't a theme, it would be a good song by itself, right?
Yeah. All right. Oh, that's it.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about the like musically what's going on? I think
No,
you get the
this
idea.
one. I just, it's a great song. I feel like it should be. I need to rethink my list. All right, so let's get to number 4. So again, overlap for both of us. And another fun one. So number 4 is Thundercats.
Thundercats!
Thundercats are on the move. Thundercats are loose. Feel the magic, hear the roar. Thundercats are loose. Thunder, 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 Thundercats. Thunder, 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 Thundercats. Thunder, thunder, Thundercats.
Another great one. another solid.
So for me, the best part of the song is the intro.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And then that break when it goes like, and then it kicks in. That's epic. It's really good. The music was written by Bernard Hoffer, and it's interesting. There's a documentary on Thundercats, and there's a big section about the music. He was he wrote some other music as well. I think he wrote the Silverhawks theme.
Okay.
And he was very influenced by Star Wars, the same way that Star Wars had themes for every character. He was basing the show off of the main theme. But if you actually look at the Thundercats soundtrack, there were each character has its own theme. So that was he basically said, like, I was looking to make it very similar to Star Wars. I was influenced by that, and that's how I did the music for this. And there's some nice guitar work, right? That they sort of slip in there. It's, a catchy line that you remember.
Yeah. No, that's good. And it's interesting. So because it's really well done, and the musicianship is obviously very, very good, and they're very well written. It's like, it's catchy, but it's also these are just good songs.
Well, he talks about that as well. I think it was recorded in New York. He said he had a lot of great studio musicians that he was working with in New York to do the song. It's funny things you never think about.
No,
back when TV shows and cartoons actually had a budget for you to hire professionals.
All right, so now we're gonna get to where we differ a little bit. So we're gonna start with your number 3. So number 3 for you, what is it? Why don't you tell me?
A very cool show that I actually would have hated back then, but now I watched it. It was a good show, and it is Gem and the Holograms.
All right.
Gem is excitement, ooh, Gem is adventure, ooh, glamour and glitter, fashion and fame. Gem is truly outrageous, truly outrageous. Whoa, Gem, the music's contagious, outrageous. Gem is my name.
So I mean, it's definitely like an 80s song, and it has added pressure because it's a show about like musicians, right? So it has to be a little bit better. I never watched it, but obviously like had heard and knew of the theme song.
And I'm sure you'd seen it in like all of these shows. They had toy lines, right? That was the big selling point. So I'm sure you had heard this theme many times, whether it was for probably for one of the toys.
Yeah.
Right. So let me see. I want to find out this. Who was the composer? So what are your thoughts on the song when you hear it?
I mean, it's a good song. It's catchy. Of all the songs, it almost sounds the most like something you would hear on the radio, right? Like from that time, it's the most poppy song. At least so far. Like I feel like all the other songs are like I said again, like the DuckTales is a great song, and the Thundercats song are really well done, but they're very clearly like they are cartoon theme songs, right? I feel like this you wouldn't have been out of place on the top 10 charts in 1986, so I think that's the one thing for me, I guess.
And it does. I'm trying to look at why I'm having so much trouble finding who but yes, it's musically speaking, it's a little jazzy, right? It's got a sort of, obviously the pop feel, like a little Madonna type thing, or like some Cyndi Lauper, like that sort of essence to it that would have been popular at the time. And the show is about a band, and what's really cool is that there were a lot of songs, and they had to churn it out pretty quickly. So they recorded quite a bit. There's a lot of Gem songs. So the whole soundtrack was really professionally done. I forgot there was the woman, the voice of Gem. She really good singer. If you listen to it, she nails that stuff, and she had to do it quickly, no auto tune. So they were really sort of top notch people who were working on that show. I think that the song, I like it's actually, if you listen to the instrumentation, it's really funky. Like it's sort of offbeat. Clearly the musicians and the people working on it were really good musicians. It wasn't like you would think about it. Oh, like as a kid, we probably thought, this girly show. But like when you listen to it as an adult, and me as a musician say, well, it's really pretty interesting for a kid's theme song. Pretty intricate musically, nice rhythmic stuff going on, some nice chord changes, interesting melody, and actually a fairly difficult song to sing. Very high, goes up high in range. So, yeah, pretty well done.
Yeah. All right, so now we'll get to my number 3, and I'm playing around my list because I realized I did have DuckTales at number 2. So, okay, so my number 3 is Inspector Gadget. So sorry. First, to jump in, the composer for Gem, his name is Robert Walsh. Okay.
Just wanted to give him credit. So, a lot of great music. All right. So now on to
first, I would say about
Inspector
Inspector Gadget, the production's really good.
Yeah, it is.
It's really good. Like I don't know. Like listening to it on headphones, it's like, oh wow, I never had that experience.
Yeah.
Like necessarily as a kid. I don't know that I cared that much as a kid, but all these are well produced, but. Again, another really good song. Well produced, good instrumentation, a lot going on there. But yeah,
nice
you can
voices in there. So interesting that when you were probably watching it, you're hearing it through the television speakers as a kid, and it's interesting that if you listen to different videos on YouTube that have it, some of them sound differently. Some of them are even pitch shifted a little bit, because of how it's really weird. But yeah, now you're actually hearing what it actually was recorded like. That is it didn't sound like a tinny thin song. Yeah. So when you actually
right.
hear
you're thinking 80s television sets is not going to be very good. But no, I mean, it's like you hear the bass and all the instruments. Again, also, really good song.
Also a little jazzy, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I was thinking that same thing.
Gadget, when it goes to that bridge, really nice. Right, that nice little harmonic minor scale, which they use, which is interesting. Of all of them, I think that it if there had to be a single best hook out of all of these, I would say that this one is it. It's Inspector Gadget, right? You just it's such a well written hook.
Yeah.
That it's a timeless hook that if you were there as a kid, well, I don't know if it's timeless, but you can't forget it. It was really well written and sort of based off of the Pink Panther, I think.
Yeah.
You listen to it, that same sort of that sort of like jazzy, that sort of jazzy bluesy note vibe that they had. I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure they were thinking that when they did it, but then it cuts into that really cool bridge, right?
Yeah.
Which is sort of out of nowhere. Go Gadget, go. So once again, pretty. And then the ending is really nice, where it does that sort of countdown clock type thing.
It
right.
They do a really good job with that, and the video, the visual on that theme, I think is really well done. All right, so let's go to number 2 for you. So yours is why don't you call out what your number 2 is?
So let's get it back. So let me find my channel here. Okay. Ooh, not that one. So first off, the question: do you know this show?
No, I do not. And I've never heard this theme, so this will be interesting.
This is a treat. All right. Okay. So the show is Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
You gotta listen to the whole thing.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
All right.
Not the whole, okay. Yeah. Just listen until you want to stop listening. But okay.
Video is pretty heavy.
Your destiny will lead you to where the people need you. Though danger may have found you, you have your friends around you now. Now, Saber Rider.
I have vague memories of this, but I don't know. No. Did this entire theme play for the cartoon?
No.
Oh, okay.
And then you get to this. So it just goes into this.
That is the solo. Okay. Now I see why you wanted me to listen to them.
Your destiny will lead you to where the people.
It sounds like an Iron Maiden solo.
Yeah, seriously.
You have your friends around you now. Now, Saber.
Yeah, it does sound like an Iron Maiden. Wow, that's so. When did you like? I don't remember this show at all.
So I don't either. It was pretty interesting, and once again, when we hear your some of your selections, we'll hit with the big reveal. But I didn't know about the show, and it makes me wonder what we got, like, because we had cable, right? We had all that. We were in New York, so you would think that all the shows, but I did some digging, and there's just so many shows and so many cartoons that I'd never heard of. Yeah. So I'm just wondering what was licensed for our area. You would figure we would have gotten all the big shows. This obviously was anime influenced, which was cool for the time. I think the show came out in 1987. Mm-hmm. And I was like reading YouTube comments. People said, "Oh, this was a great show." I don't remember it all, and I'm wondering, did we get it? We must have. Like, I can't imagine that we didn't, but like, when were these shows on? Like, did it just really be curious
I-
to know the schedule of
I feel like it's a little bit cheating adding it to your list because you didn't really
So-
grow up with it, right?
Well, that was why I added it, because I needed to look at things objectively. And I
Okay.
heard it, and as an adult, I said, "This is really good.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a good song.
this is like legitimately a good song."
Yeah.
It's got the the really cool guitar
Yeah.
solo in there.
Yeah,
Sounds
it's
like an Iron Maiden song, and then it has really cool vocal save, and it's
Yeah.
interesting rhythmically too,
Yeah.
because it doesn't follow a normal sort of a typical meter, because they had to fit like Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs is hard to put into words, so he had to play with the bar count. Saber Riders and the Star Sheriff, right? Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun, will lead you to where the like. It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Clearly there was some the guy who wrote it knew what he was doing. Like, he was
Yeah.
obviously very talented, and he was able to put these in. It was catchy. The thing is, oftentimes when you write, when you have to play with sort of strange wording and strange bar counts, it sounds weird. It sounds awkward,
Yeah.
but it doesn't in this case. And that, I think, is the strength of it, that he was able to put a very a strange, a weird title, but put it in and make it sound seamless. And it sort of rocks, right? If once we get into the 90s, it kind of conjures up like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, right?
Yeah.
Only for me, this is a much better song, right?
Yeah.
Because that had like a couple fun parts, but this is much better. Throughout, it's like it's dynamic, and it's a real song. So it's funny that
All
you
right,
had first heard it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. No, it's a good song. All right. So my number 2 is Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Watch out, 'cause here we come. It's been a while, but we're back with style, so get set to have some fun. We'll bring you action and satisfaction. We're the Chipmunks. CHIPMUNK. We're the Chipmunks. Guaranteed to brighten your day when you feel like a laugh. Give us a call, we'll give you our all, and if you feel like a song, tune into us and sing right along. We're the Chipmunks.
Yeah, no, and this is another. It's a fun song. Definitely, this gets a lot of nostalgia points. I'm kind of thinking like in hindsight, I probably would have had it closer to like 5 on my list.
Yeah.
Maybe even 6 behind something else. I think for whatever reason, like Chipmunks are extremely like nostalgic for me. Like I remember, like just other songs from from the show and in various iterations of it that always kind of hit those nostalgia buttons for me. But in hindsight, I'm like, maybe I would have had it a little bit higher, but still fun song. Your thoughts?
Yeah. It's a nice. Definitely a well-written song. Not my favorite of the bunch. To me, the best part are the harmonies. Right? It's disguised by the Chipmunks' voices, but it's in 3-part harmony. It's interesting. It's a nice vocal arrangement where, if you actually analyze it, right, it creates some nice little chords within the vocals. That bum 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 bum, right? That it has that very 80s sort of thing that you hear on like Huey Lewis and those types of sounds, where you would hear those types of hits on like either like a synth or something like that. Right. And yeah, I think it fits the it fit for the time. Granted, you're always gonna hear the Chipmunk voice, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. So the question would be, how would it sound if it was just a normal person singing, right?
Yeah.
Would it? If I guess back then they had to stretch the tape or double it, right, to give it that sound. Now it's just very easy to do it in Pro Tools or whatever to get the same effect. But I think the Chipmunks they were originally from the 50s, right? It's an old show, and they brought it back, and they sort of rebooted it for the time period. And I know they've done more recent reboots as well, right? I guess it's one of those things. Once you reboot something, you could keep on rebooting it. I think it fits. Once again, not my favorite out of the bunch, but a good song. It moves well, and I think it it captured the essence of the time.
Yeah. All right. And okay, so next up is your number one, which is probably the catchiest of all these songs. But what's your number one song?
Number one, to me the granddaddy of all themes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Heroes in a half shell, turtle power. They're the world's most fearsome fighting team. We really get turtles. Heroes in the half shell, and they're green. When the evil shredder attacks, these turtle boys don't cut no slack. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Splinter taught them to be ninja teens. So like a rat.
Yeah, such a good song.
Yeah. So the first thing about it is that it's really, really weird. Like it's a
Meaning-
very strange theme. Like with all the voices, it's just in there. It's weird. Like it's like also the rhythm of it. And I just want you to hear. There's sort of a sidebar to this. A lot of these themes were done in different languages. So like Ninja Turtles, for instance, was done in like a million languages, and the themes are all very strange sounding because of the English language, right? Like
Okay.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's very rhythmic, and other languages don't work the same way.
Yeah.
So remember, there's a German one which is pretty interesting, where they changed ninja to hero. And there's one that was like for like in Arabic, which is so bizarre. Like if you listen to it, you almost won't believe it, right? They have one in so many in every language. They did so many in Spanish, different forms of Spanish, like all over Europe. It's really interesting. Something for you to listen to is just, and none of them really work the same way as the English one because of the phrasing of it, the English language. But yeah, it's it's just the lyrics are so perfectly placed that they tell the story. The voices in between, right? The way they incorporate, because if you listen to the other themes, they don't really, except Thundercats does a little bit. They didn't really incorporate the characters. Even the Gem theme, I guess they have the Misfits part, which are there. But it's just the way they incorporate the characters into the song, I think, is really smart. Right, and it's also very strange melodically. Right, it's weird. Like it's not something that you would think of as a good song by itself, but in context, it's really good, and it's really iconic, and it's really sort of it's two note, it's two notes, but the chords are changing underneath, which is not uncommon, that when you have the chords move a lot, and then this sort of melody changes a little bit to fit with the chords as the progression moves on. So weird, a weird theme. And as you can hear, if you listen to the theme songs that I write, you could tell that I was influenced by that, like the Jimwits theme, for instance, like the voices in between and and where it moves and whatnot. So plus it you can't help but just conjure up the good time feelings of when you watch it, something good is coming. And the whole soundtrack to that to that show was good. The guys who wrote the music, I got to look up their name too. They wrote a bajillion themes, and they're actually, like, the guy is like a huge TV. They're both huge TV producers now. So they obviously had the foresight to see what the show was and how it turned into such a big hit at the time. Let me look up who wrote the theme. What was his name? I gotta find it here. Oh, Chuck Lorre and Dennis C. Brown. So they did the music for this, and think if you look them up, they also are big producers. So they did the music, and they also had the foresight to see that the show was like initially it was a very violent comic book, right? It wasn't a kids thing, and they said, well, let's make this a kids thing, and then they all made ungodly amounts of money off of it. So all right. So
Okay, so number one for me is and I'm interested. It'll be interesting listening to this because like I wonder how much of it is like the nostalgia and like how much I love the show and how much is the actual song. So I'm gonna play my number one, which is Voltron, Defender of the Universe. I mean, yeah, another really good. It's good. It's definitely a cartoon theme song, but yeah, it definitely is a really good song. What are your thoughts on it? On how composition? How it's
so it definitely has a so there's a lot in there, and definitely a very just as worthy of a number one. It's clearly based on like the John Williams. That's
it's funny thinking. Listen, it was like it's very heavily influenced by John Williams until it kind of shifts and gets almost like psychedelic.
Until it goes into that sort of like a rock guitar psychedelic type thing.
Yeah, but you're right. Like I was totally thinking, oh wow, this is really influenced, heavily influenced by John Williams until it does make that shift.
Which would make sense. So very interesting musically. If you listen to like a lot of the steps, the bum 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 bum, right? Though the way there, it's very strange because he's doing what's a rub, where those are not normal harmonies. They are stepped up in notes that are very close to each other, which you don't hear. So it's called a rub when two notes are very close to each other, and then as part of the harmony to the melody, and that's what gives it this sort of like you listen to it and there's this melody, but did you notice that there's a jarring quality to it?
Yeah.
Right, that's what it is. It's strange where you can't put your finger on it, and it's like, well, that's what it is because the harmony of those notes are rubbing with each other, and then the bum 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 bum, right? Interesting notes in the scale, right? So it's not. The main theme is melodic, but that other part is not very melodic. It's hard to sing, and it's jarring in a strange way, which I like. And then it cuts into this whole sort of rock guitar thing, sort of like 80s, like that sort of driving beat that you hear, right? And then it cuts back, and then it gives you the release where it cuts back into the, very John Williams-y triumphant. That part with the with the trumpets playing, and you have this nice orchestral counterpart. So clearly, good people. And the so here's the interesting thing: that music was written by Dale Shacker, I think John Peterson as well. Dale Shacker also wrote the first one, Denver the Last Dinosaur, and he wrote the Saber and Star Sheriff.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So this guy clearly had his sort of finger on the pulse of what was going on at the time, and was able to produce and write a lot of themes. Clearly, this guy was really good at what he did, and to make with the Voltron theme. Another, it's interesting that would you have thought that do you hear any similarities between this one and the Saber theme? Does it sound like it's from the same?
In the complexity, maybe, you know, like in my limited like musical vocabulary, I'd say like there are layers to both of those songs that I think I could see, you know, I could see the same person kind of composing them, even though they don't really sound
No, they don't sound alike, but
similar at all. Like so in that way, yes, right? Like you have, you know, these obviously he's a professional, and obviously can, you know, switch genres as needed. So yeah, I think I can see that. It makes sense.
so yeah, no, Voltron is a great theme, and it's interesting. The one that you were listening to that I had sent you was not with the voiceover.
With voice, yeah,
Because the voiceover to me, you hear both are good, right? You in context, because there's no words in the song, there's no lyrics. You need the voiceover to basically let people know what's going on in the show.
yeah,
Right. All of the other ones have words for the most part, so you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So if you listen to the one with the voiceover, it's good too, right? You don't. The thing is, you don't hear all the cool musical stuff going on because you're
Yeah.
focusing on the voiceover. So the musical thing, just the music acts as a sort of background, as a palette for it, which is
Yeah.
good in its own way. But when you actually listen to the music, probably now better version of it, more like a high def of sorts, that you can actually hear it without listening to this voiceover through a tinny TV speaker. You actually hear,
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, there's stuff going on here.
Yeah. No,
So-
cool. Yeah, no, that's great. So yeah, so there it is, our top 5 songs. And if you like this, definitely comment, and maybe we'll pull out our top. We could do top 5 sitcoms, top 5 '90s cartoons.
Oh, we're definitely
you know,
going to do all
2000
those.
yeah, we got a lot of potential musical kind of episodes we could do based on this. So definitely, you know, comment
Look,
if this
there's
is something
other
you'd be interested
good
in.
themes too. There's other good ones that we
Yeah.
we.
Oh yeah,
It's like it's tough because
Yeah.
there's a lot of good. There was a lot of good stuff. There was a lot of the kids market for these cartoons were very lucrative at the time, and so
Yeah.
whenever something has money behind it, you get the best people working on it.
Yeah.
And that's why there were so many good themes, because it was like the golden age for that, where kids
Yeah.
were watching it and you were like, well, everyone's competing, we got to get the best everything, so you have to have the best animation. And, you know, for Voltron, they were like, we need something new, let's bring it to, you know, obviously let's take it from, you know, Japanese animation. And then a lot of the other shows, Thundercats, and when it followed suit, they're like, wow, this is a really new form of animation that we haven't really seen yet. Let's jump. So you had that, you know, people, who's the best theme writer? Like, where can we get from? What comic books can we draw from? So unfortunately, you know, I don't know if there's the money in it today for kids programming. Kids programming is very different. I don't really know much about it, but it's just different. So I don't know if they have quite the same people that can work on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't know if today we're going to get the same level. It's just a different world
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
So it was a moment in time where things were happening because there was money behind it. Sadly, that's what drives things, but
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Cool. All right, great. Well, that is it for today. So as usual, if you want to reach out to us or find us on social media, we're on all the social medias at portable_whole. You can email us at portableholepub@gmail.com, and check us out. Our website is portableholepublishing.com. And that's it. So Justin, until next time.
Watch out for the hole.